5 up and 5 down is not where you wanted to be at this point, but it is still in line for bowl eligibility to play another game, win another game, and of course, highlight Florida State football during the postseason. And more importantly, for 2026, get some more reps for the football team and, of course, the young players who talk Florida State football with all of you here at the Voice of College Football. This week on a Wednesday, big game, James Coleman down below, Den Media Group, of course, and of course, Georgitis, the Renegade Report, getting fired up for a show here in about 50 minutes on his channel. Guys, how we doing tonight?
I'm good.
Well,
professionally, personally, all that stuff's going great. We'll get into what's not going so great here in a minute. Coming off a win.
That Virginia Tech team's going to be bringing James Franklin in future dates to Tallahassee, but that should be interesting. But for this last go around without Franklin, 34-14, the final for the Noles. And James, we'll start with you. Just your thoughts about what was a bit of a slow burn. It took the offense a while to get going, but once they did, they started to make some big chunk plays downfield.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that Florida State's offense is like it's dynamic and it does put up numbers, but sometimes the numbers don't reflect how the flow of the game kind of went. So you saw, obviously, he targeted Deuce Robinson, and Deuce Robinson was able to get what he needed to get, but you also still saw some glaring weaknesses in Thomas Castellano's game. And and the frustrating part about it is, if they would just clean up, if they would just execute, the conversations for Florida State football would be exponentially different. There's really only two games. Really only two games which I believe they really were never, though closer than what it looked like, you never really had a chance to win it. That was A, Miami, and B, Clemson. And just the way the flow of the game went. But Virginia, all the other games, you should have won it, and you were Stanford, definitely. You're somebody making a play away from being good. And it all starts with your quarterback. So the takeaway was that the defense at times played very, very well. They still have this problem with tackling, and tackling is a mentality. Tackling is an attitude. Tackling is and that's reflective of the coach. And I don't want to, again, bash too hard, but I'm like, it's there. Like, that's the only thing that they were able to do. And when you lost these games earlier, you saw that. But they made plays when plays were needed to be made, when they were necessary. And that's really, at the end of the day, all you can really attribute to it, because a win is a win. And we would take one point wins over the teams that we lost to and still be happy. But it is very frustrating because I can see the vision. I can see where it could be. But, man, it's, you already know these are the things that get you fired. And I don't, again, Mike Norvell and company, really Mike Alford and company, need to take a real red line audit whenever it is. Could be week to week, but definitely need to take some time and really evaluate where the program stands, because there are things that are going better than what fans would want to believe. But at the same time, you're getting paid entirely too much money to be this mid. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything you said. And even what's so infuriating about it, you win 2 or 3 games, even with your execution and everything, the level it's been, the mid that it's been, if you just don't have 13 penalties for 130 yards. This Wake Forest game is a perfect example. Slow going, you miss Squirrel White on a wide open touchdown. We won't go into all Tommy's mistakes, but you don't have 100 yards of penalties and 10 penalties in the first half. You don't put yourself down 2 and 3 scores. And all of a sudden, when that offense gets to clicking, you put some drives together. It seems like Deuce is just the receiver who's tall enough that Tommy isn't going to overthrow him. That's been his biggest, weakness in this passing game. Is just, I feel bad for Squirrel because, he's did punt returns and everything else, and he's done his job and got open. Whenever it's him, the ball just hadn't got there. That's what's kind of on my mind, though, getting past the game, what you said about having to take a look in the mirror, because say what you want. This isn't my words. This is just perception, and perception is reality in recruiting and everything else. The fact that you didn't make a move after the Stanford game, Virginia Tech hires James Franklin. Now you're coming down to 2 weeks left of the season. What, if you lose to Florida, you're going to fire him then with 3 days on a recruiting cycle? It sure seems like they're accepting mid, and, we're going to try to play this thing out and try to win in 2026. I made the thumbnail for the roast, the Wolf of Wall Street meme, where he says, "I'm not effing leaving." That's basically it. You saw Mike's press conference the other day where he's talking about he's going to win a national championship and all the things. I agree with you. Like, I see the vision. I see that you've got almost 30 guys committed. You really did a better job of, and analyzing the high school guys that you brought in, the transfer guys you brought in this particular class. You got Desir, you got Chroma. Sperry's a good prospect. You've got some good things to build on. And yeah, instead of hitting reset and starting all over, you could be in year 2 or 3 of something that could blossom fruit. But you're betting on 2-3 years down the road with Mike Norvell. He's still going to be here. And what you're going to give him till year 9 to stop winning 2-4 games, it's a tough road to hoe. It's but they don't want to cut the check yet. We'll see what happens if he loses to NC State, but it sure feels like we're going to get that dead man walking that we talked about way back at the beginning of the season, James, when this thing started falling apart. It's looking like you're going to get a 6-6, maybe 7-6, or 7-5 if you're lucky. Mike Norvell, and who's kind of like a dead man walking, and I feel like it puts the program on freeze. Unless you come out and win 10, 11 games and can just really change things. People say, look at what LSU did. Look at what this team did. And I get it hasn't worked out for Florida and other teams who have been doing that, firing early. But I was waiting to see how many minutes it happened, but I'll say it and ask you, the standard is the standard. Is it still?
Well, I think the standard is the standard. And I just think my problem with all of this is what is the standard, I guess, in what is the landscape of college football? And what do FSU fans really want? Because what I've heard is James Franklin is not good. And the argument is James Franklin can't win the big game. When, Mark, Penn State was there a really good dynamic run by probably the first running back that will be taking in this year's draft, Jeremiah Love. That's what separated Penn State from playing Ohio State in the national championship. Am I correct on that?
Yeah. Also a interception with 15 seconds left in the game that handed Notre Dame a field goal to walk off with a win.
Yeah. So my thing is this: to get to that point, he had to win 2 big games. So clearly he can win the big game.
Sure. He's won 3 New Year's 6 bowl games. He's won the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Peach Bowl. But it sounds like he can't do what the guy who's going to be the newest, highest paid coach did in Lane Kiffin and win a conference championship. When you look at who would we hire? He even did that.
Who do we want? Lane Kiffin? Why? He doesn't recruit better than Mike. He hasn't won anything.
There's nothing that's going to make you feel good. Either way you go with it. There is. Tell me that. What's going to make us feel good?
That's what I'm saying. When you don't have anything, when you can't make a decision, or when there is no better choice, change for no reason puts you in the same position to put you in now. And there's no guarantee that you're going to outspin the incumbent. Like that's so. I think everybody's just saying we got to fire. When I look at what can you do. Some of the coaches that I've heard that potentially could come don't mind because, again, you know what Florida State has right now, which I think some of it's inflated by 2 games, but it is the numbers. And I was wrong because I said if you told me Florida State had a top 20 offense and a top 20 defense and we're down in the college football playoff game, I would call you crazy. But we are crazy. But Florida State has a top 10 offense and a top 30 defense. You improve by 100 points across the board. Those are the facts. This is not a case for Mike. It's a case for make sure if we make the decision, we're going to move in the right direction because the things that we're saying is going to hurt, it hasn't affected it. And you've got guys who everybody wants that are doubling down. So the one thing that Mike's biggest weakness is recruiting. And I do know we lost the guy that just became a 5-star, but watch. I'll keep eyes out for that. If you can't name me who we want. We can't just scream anybody. Because we've said that before. When we were here on Facebook on this day, showed me what I say about Jimbo Fisher on this day when Jimbo Fisher's last year. And it wasn't nice things. And none of us were saying nice things because Jimbo let the standard go. What happened was when we brought in Taggart, and then we said anybody but Taggart. I don't care. Get me anybody but Taggart. And what did that leave us? Get me anybody but Mike. Get me anybody but Mike. When maybe we need to really take a look at what the issues are in the program so that we can attract the best guy. We got the indoor practice, not indoor, excuse me. I always want to call it indoor, but we got the football only facility where we need to get it. Is our NIL spins, but is it right? Do we want to look at, like, is Derek Ray, does he have every tool, or is Derek Ray the guy? I don't know. I happen to like Derek. I have no quarrels with him, but business is business. Does Mike have the right staff? Does he have these different things? Or, because guess what you're going to have to ask yourself? Even if you get rid of Mike, you're still going to have to do all of these different things that we're talking about. You're still going to have to put more resources in the NIL. You're still going to have to put more resources in the football program. There's still a lot of things that you're just going to have to do that we have not done yet naturally. And once we really check those boxes and do all of those things, we're going to see us exponentially increase, because Florida State is probably, I don't even know what the points are, but I don't want to take away the Clemson and Miami losses, because those were, in my opinion, those were two losses that we never had a chance to win that game. We were never in control of that game. But what if Florida State 5-4? So what does that make you? Or is it 5-5? No, we're 5-5. 5-5. So Florida State should be 7-3 right now. Excuse me. I apologize. 8-2. 7-3, 8-2. They're a drop pass, a double catch in the end zone by Deuce Robinson, if they make that. There are a couple of other plays away from that. Would you take that, or would you be screaming fire Mike Norvell if we had that? Now, if ifs were a fifth, we'd all be drunk. But I'm just saying, who is the guy? I want to be on point with everybody. But what I'm not going to do is just scream and yell, because I know from a business perspective, I've seen it can get much worse. It can. Nebraska is you know what Nebraska said? Sure. Anybody but Bo Pelini. Bo Pelini doesn't need to be a part. Boy, would they love Bo Pelini right now? Bo Pelini would be a 10-win coach. And you know what Bo Pelini would be talking about? Getting reservations to the college football playoff, which is what you need to be looking for. That is the standard. And that's, believe it or not, it's 10 wins. It's 10 wins and you're in.
Yeah, you do have to follow up the firing with the right decision. Yeah, Nebraska didn't get it done, but because Bo Pelini, to your point, never lost or never won less than 9 games. And Paul Chris last season at full season at Wisconsin was 9-4, but that wasn't good enough, and he got fired, and they've been horrible ever since Luke Fickell took over. I'm going to go back, though, to the last thing that George said, because that's an interesting comment made about what is the standard. So I believe that you two would agree on what the standard is. And I think that most Florida State fans would agree what the standard is. And I think that I would agree with you two, not that my vote counts because I don't have any emotional investment in it, but I know what Florida State football is and has been for the last going on 50 years. So I believe I know what the standard is. But do the people that write the checks and make the decisions, do they agree with the standard is? And because they're unfortunately the people that count.
Yeah. I don't think they know what the standard is. And I think they just want to feel good too. Because when I heard Jimbo Fisher, the idea to bring Jimbo Fisher back, that just let me know we don't know what the standard is anymore. And we don't have a grasp on. I'll tell you this, as a guy this is why I'm unequivocally against Jimbo Fisher. It's not that I don't appreciate the Natty. I don't want to hear people saying there aren't that many people that won national championships. You know who else won Les Miles won a national championship, and Coach Orgeron won a national championship, and we ain't talking about bringing those guys back. There's a lot of guys with national championships that most people can at least say that, hey, maybe it was everything around them that helped them win that. Maybe a once-in-a-generation type quarterback that was around him. And then once you lost that, you became what we fired. And again, I also tell people I'll never forgive him, even win a national championship. He got my coach fired. Like the guy who actually coached me and built this program, he got them fired. So I'll say if that's what was even on the table, they don't know what the standard is either. They just want blood. And I'm okay with that. I just want people to step back and I'm okay with whatever decision Florida State makes. I'm going to back the logo. I am going to critique the product on the field, and the product on the field at the end of the day isn't what it needs to be. There are all kinds of excuses. You can make all kinds of excuses for anything. But what I want is us to have a systematic method of moving forward. And what I don't feel that's being thrown around, even what I've heard with some of my sources, there's only one that I've heard, and I don't believe he comes here. And I don't believe he comes here because he's going from a fan base that kind of likes him because he went to a college football championship, to a fan base that if he doesn't succeed right away, that will eat him alive. And that is not something I wouldn't take that. There's not enough money for me to be able to take that job. So, but I think there's some things that we definitely need to be held. We definitely need to reevaluate though.
Yeah. Again, I agree with everything you said. My thing is, just to answer your question in plain terms, Mark, it's like to play at a championship level year in, year out, at least compete for conference titles and be considered for what used to be national titles or a Power 6 game. Now it's a playoff spot, like James said. I think they understand that part. I think the money, the specific situation is the reason that Norvell still, it's not like, they don't understand we're losing games and something needs to happen. The other part of the standard to me as a fan is that Florida State recruits at a high level and gets some of the very best players out of Florida and Georgia. And you get a Jameis Winston, you get a Carlos Williams, you get game-changing players, and players make coaches. I'm sure Bobby, if you go listen to him talk, it was, heavily focused on his players, and it was, Snoop Menace in 2000 that carried the water. It was, all these different guys throughout the years. So in order to do that, you have to recruit at a certain level, okay? I give it to the new staff when they came in and they flipped that class. That's probably the best high school class we've had since Mike's been here. We've got close to 30 guys committed, even though you lost a couple big names here and there. I still feel like they improved it. But from an organizational standpoint and what they're doing, we talked about this all last summer, and James brought this up as well. I've always been a fan of Derek Ray. I've always liked him as a person, but after that 2024 debacle with the guys you go get, your strategy, how everything fell apart. And then, Mike Alford makes these comments about how the 20-something million's coming from the school. You got all these new NIL things happening. And it's going to be a lot of responsibility on a general manager ran like NFL franchise. My initial thought was, okay, that means they're going to hire somebody. They're going to bring in somebody either to be a mentor to Derek Ray and with a different title, or replace him, or whatever the case may be. Build that thing up and let's figure this out. And everybody I reached out to, I think James might have been one of them. Nope, that's not at all. So here we are a year later. And yeah, those are the kind of things I think they may be blind to. I'm not sure, but as soon as they started leaking those emails from boosters saying how hyped they are with the narrow losses, and Mike's got this thing going in the right direction. That told me where their mind is. And, it's 50 some odd million, plus you're on the hook with a new coach, whatever that's going to be. And, you don't want to be Auburn paying 4 head coaches. I get it. And it's just a tough spot to be in. I think everybody has good points, to my point earlier, what's going to make everybody happy? It's not out there. So I fall in the camp of, it might be best for the program for Mike to be back next year, but that doesn't make it feel any better, if you will. Outside him going and win 10, 11 games and making a run at a playoff next year. That would be something.
Which would be also, like, if that happened, that'd be crazy, right? Like, and if it happens, you know what our fan base is going to do? They're going to love him. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we just, again, there is there's a right answer, but it's not going to make anybody really comfortable. And even in that, the right answer is a huge risk. And people have to ask themselves, is that what, are we really that comfortable with that kind of risk? And I really don't think people are anywhere near as comfortable as with that risk as what they are willing to admit they are. So I mean, I hope the biggest thing in all of this, all of us want want them to be great. And they want Florida State to be good. And I'm pretty sure that these guys aren't going around hoping that Florida State doesn't get better. So it's an uncomfortable situation. Uncomfortable conversations have to be had, and in that, we have to see if Mike. This was also the first time that Mike did something that we weren't all sure he could even do, and he fired coaches and hired coaches. So, kudos to him on that one, because that I actually was one of the ones who says I don't really think he'll do it. So, but he did. So,
are you two going to think any differently about Mike Norvell and where this program is headed based on the last 2 games of the season and a possible bowl game, considering that the 2 teams that are lining up against Florida State are also pretty much playing for next to nothing, depending on what your viewpoint of a bowl game is these days? North Carolina State's in the same boat at 5-5, but their coach is not going anywhere. So they've got a stability situation there, but they're not a good football team by most measurements, although they did show up against Virginia and Georgia Tech, so they're capable. And then you got the rivalry game against Florida, which you want to win because of pride, but how much can be taken away from that? That team's a Jekyll and Hyde team. They lose to Kentucky by 31 points. They turn around and they play Ole Miss down to the wire and have done that against Texas, outplayed Texas, but they look like garbage other times. So they're all over the place, and who knows what they're playing for. So how much can you really gauge the last 2 weeks of the season, and how much are you going to take away from, oh, wow, they look so much better the last 2 weeks, and I guess you could say the last 3 weeks with this win, versus, did it really matter? Because the competition wasn't the best.
It does matter, and because what we'll be screaming if he gets fired, we're gonna be like, he needs to go. He's got to win, and you've got to establish that, and guys have to have something to play for. And if he doesn't, then again, that so we can't scream we want him to do something, and then when he does something, be like, oh well, it doesn't matter. We don't. No, I want him to finish strong. If guys, we're playing with the interim coach, I want them to finish strong, and that's kind of just where all of that goes. So,
yeah, I guess my question is before you go, George. I guess my question is more. Of course, you want Florida State to win under any circumstance. It just looks better. It looks good. There's no reason to be losing games. But are you going to evaluate Norvell and where things are headed much differently? Those are kind of two different things.
It's tough. Does losing to NC State or Florida after everything that's happened all of a sudden make those pins start moving? Is that the straw that broke the camel's back? I don't know. Personally, yes, I would love him to win those games because it feels like he's coming back no matter what. So, yeah, win those games. Maybe you can grab a couple more recruits, get this thing the momentum, and just get everybody bought into the coaching staff coming back. Maybe TC can come back. You get Deuce back. You get Chroma back. The Zier twins. You've got some positives. It's all there. If you could erase the past 5 years and this was year 1 or 2 of Mike Norvell, you could sell the future. It's just not. It's that we're going into year 6. and we still had some of these issues. It's unfortunate he didn't go 8-2. We didn't get those bounces. If that happened, everything's different. You're pushing for a top 10 class. There's momentum in Tallahassee, but perception has got a hold of us, and here we are. If we do lose those 2 games and they decide to pull the trigger, well, then it's what, 3 days until signing day? That's the issue. It's like you've got yourself they've got themselves handcuffed to where it doesn't matter if Florida blows you out and you're their 4th win of the year or whatever. At that point, you're like committed. So they're not going to blow the thing up the day before signing day. So yeah, I honestly don't believe they're going to pull the trigger. So I don't think it does matter, Mark. As far as if he gets fired, I think that it really, really matters for the program, though.
Florida State has a Miami class right now. And I joke with that to say Miami class, like they have the blue chip ratio is off, but they have 12 4-star commits and 14 guys. They have a top 14 class currently, and none of the people behind them look poised to jump them. So he's recruiting on par. The people in front of him are the University of Florida, LSU, Michigan, Miami, Texas, who's really not living to their standard, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Ohio State, Oregon, Notre Dame, Georgia, Alabama, and USC. USC with 35 commits. Nobody's beating that class, not with 35 commits. Florida State has their class with 26, and they'll probably get in a couple more, and not including the recruiting portal. The transfer portal. I have a saying about perception. Perception is reality only to losers. Reality is reality. The reality is for Florida State's not a top 15 team, but they have a top 15 class. And if they get a couple of these guys to come back, which they're on par for, they will pass a couple of teams that have traditionally had better recruiting. If you're just looking at the whole numbers, because Florida they're probably not going to hire anybody until. And trust me, that guy is not going to – if they're looking at the guy I'm thinking about, he's not going to be very favorable. So some of these guys also have 5 stars as well. So it's just – I think one of the things that we get bogged down into – because we the big 3, Mark, one of the funnest Twitter fan bases to be able to go into. We troll. We talk so much trash about each other, and that's where we're caught into. We are afraid to actually just look at the numbers and the data because we know we're going to get trolled by our counterparts. But the difference between and what I really say I respect it, Mark, you've seen me go with Cam. I haven't listened to your show, but I'm sure Cam's bravado is nowhere near what it was when they first started. Their expectations every year, regardless of what happens, regardless of who's the coach, is to play in a national championship. And they haven't won an ACC championship. For whatever reason, when Florida fans go and they get, we've seen this 4 times in a day since I've been in the news. This is Florida's 4th coaching search since I've been doing this. And guess what they're going to feel next year? They're going to feel they have the best room in the state. They're going to get all the best transfers. They're getting everybody. All of these different things are going to happen. With Florida State, the year we went 10-3. We came off of a 5-7 year, which was better than 3-6. I'm telling people like, yo, this team isn't as bad. Oh, we're going to be lucky to win, and this guy suck, and this happens, and blah, blah, blah. Then we go 10-3. We go 10-3, man. Jordan's not – they say Jordan's not a really good passer. This, and I'm like, well, he's pretty good. Go 13-1. I don't understand why. It's not even about living in delusion. It's just like having okay, we go 7-5. Okay. We didn't beat us in Miami. As I told my friend when he came to me and said we beat Florida State, all I said was, where are we watching the ACC championship? Do you want to watch it at my cigar lounge or do you want to watch it at Tootsie's in Miami? You pick, because both of us did not effectively get to where we wanted to get. But guess what's going to happen next year with Miami fans? They're going to win the ACC. They're going to the national championship. They're doing all of the different things. At Florida, if Florida State fans are going to still be stuck on, we got to fire Mike. We got to do this. We got to do this. We're never going to be any good. We're never going to be this. Guys, we have it stinks. We got to change our mentality a little bit. Every day it sounds depressing. Like a bowl game as a guy who's played in 4 of them, trust me, bowl games matter.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree. And with almost everything, the only thing that I will say is, and I laid it out too, I agree with you about the recruiting class and stuff. It's just, I was that guy. I was selling on his high school recruiting and they're building something. And just this far in, I've seen the same exact recruiting class 6 times now, and they have fallen flat. Like they're all gone. Like, and just, we're not good. 22 and 23, that was all about transfers. You had your Renardo Greens here and there, but the man has not evaluated. And to his credit, the one with the new guys, the Desir twins, this particular class, you had some real stars in it. But, I just, at this point, my faith in that is busted. But yeah, all I'm doing is complaining. What good is that going to do? Nothing.
Yeah. Miami's about to have their fifth straight top 10 class. Would you take the last 5 years at Miami or Florida State?
The last 5 years.
I'm just saying they're number 10 right now, and they're going to watch the ACC championship from the same place that you're going to watch it from.
Yeah, they're like Jimbo. They're like Jimbo Fisher without Jameis is basically what they are.
And I'm not saying sing Mike's praises. All I'm saying is, and they have the college football playoff momentum coming, but anybody who knows the game, they can't get in. They're taking Notre Dame, and they're going to take the ACC champion. They're competing for the Gator Bowl. Yeah. Florida right now, Florida has had a better recruiting class than you. I'm going to go down the list. I would take Michigan. LSU is about to fire a coach that consistently recruits in the top 10. Well, not about to. I apologize. They fired a coach that consistently recruits in the top 10. Texas, I don't know when the last time Texas hasn't been a top 5 program. This is going to be the first time. They're not going to win their conference. They're competing for the Gator Bowl. Tennessee recruits their behinds off. They're not going to be competing for a college football playoff. They're going to be competing for the Gator Bowl. There's few and far in between. USC always finishes high. It's got to be it's a combination of, can you coach the guys and can you get them? And guess what? I used to tell people this all the time. I can't even remember his name. Actually, there's a wide receiver in my class who was considered. There was 3 wide receivers in my class who was considered the next Peter Ward. None of you guys know who they are. There's going to be everybody misses most of the classes because most of the guys don't pan out. I want guys that want to play. Like that, like we just talked about the Desir Twins. I don't want 3 stars with heart. I do want some 5-star. I do like some good guys. But have you seen the comparisons of the Desir Twins and Bain? And I'm trying to think of the other guy who we thought we had committed that we got to reclass that ended up going to Miami. The 3 stars are better. 3 stars are performing better. I want system guys. I want guys in the system. I want guys that fit his system. That's what I really want. Now, I want us to get a quarterback, but to be honest with you, it don't look like anybody's evaluating quarterback. The quarterback is very good. And I don't want to just fire people and then I don't want to fire people just with it just bring anybody in. Because then you're stuck with the Tulane coach, who is a good coach, by the way. But he's not the coach that Florida wants. You're going to be stuck with the guy from USF, who is a damn good coach. But he's not going to be the guy that you want. Find me now. If you give me Matt Patricia from Ohio State, I'll take that because he has the NFL backing. When you ask people what they want and why they want it, almost none of us have a real answer. That's just not sound business, in my opinion.
It's a crazy time in college football. Nobody knows. It's like a reverse gold rush. Everybody's just throwing money at the problem, trying to figure it out. That's one of the biggest problems. The changes to the portal windows, the calendars. Who knows what's what? But you mentioned Matt Patricia. That's my kind of thing. If you are going to hire somebody, I don't care if you wait till after the playoffs. I feel like go a coordinator route and start from scratch and let's build up 4 years. I wouldn't mind being Florida in 4 years, to your question about being Florida, Miami, and having a program that has athletes in it that somebody can come and do something with. That's just my biggest, gripe with Mike is that it's in a, the way he's used the portal and yada yada. We've got the guys there now. It's just let's hang our hat on something there. Like there's so many guys, single players that could have changed the program that have flipped at the last minute. I'm not trying to harp on it. It's just I don't know.
I've been watching these three programs jockey for position in the state and nationally for close to 50 years. I've been specifically watching these three programs for the last 10 plus years doing this, and it has been quite interesting and amusing at times because it changes more frequently in terms of how you would order them 1, 2, and 3 more often than you would think. Meaning, at when Florida State's sitting there at 13-1, or a couple weeks earlier 13-0, and should have been in the college football playoff, a 4-team playoff, they're obviously the number one program in the state. It's not even close. But if you rewind a year and a half, every about year and a half, it seems like the one that you would name number one, well, there seems to be no end in sight. Like right now with Miami, you would ask most college
wonder
football
how
fans,
much
what's the number one program in the state of Florida? They'd say Miami, no question. And it would seem as though that's not going to change forever. But it does. It keeps changing like every year and a half or so. It keeps changing for whatever reason.
it's the worst it has ever been, or in my memory since the 90s. Right now, I think if you took all three teams and
Yeah.
I think this is probably the worst
Yep.
era of it.
Yep.
And I wonder how much that correlates to Florida high school football coaches, having to be teachers and not getting paid shit. And all of a sudden now Georgia, they've got like 5 less blue chips than Florida with like a quarter of the population or less. Like, I wonder how much that correlates to it. Mike, past couple classes has really dipped up in Georgia. Some of your best players, come to mind came from Georgia. So, everything goes in waves. And like to your point, it's crazy. Florida win 4 games one year and then they'd be playing in the SEC championship the next. Miami would go 7-0 and then lose their last 5 games. It's always ebbing and flowing. The famous Mario Cristobal, it's obvious which way the winds are blowing in the state and who's big dog, and then Florida State goes on their run. So yeah, it's always changing, but hopefully everybody can get brought up. It wasn't that long ago, heading into 24, that you thought you might have all 3. Even this year at points, you thought you could have all 3 be ranked and during the matchups, and look at us now.
Yeah, it will change. Unfortunately, I used to like when it changed when we were all a little bit better. But I just want to I want us to have a plan and look like we have a plan. That would be the biggest thing, and be able to formulate it and go forward in a proper direction. Because one of the things I did used to say about Tag in defense of him, and I'll even say this in defense of Jimbo or any coach, if the play is there to be made, it's really not necessarily the scheme, it's the execution of the scheme. And then that does come down to coaches and players. And as my friend Travis Johnson always says, you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. So Mike and those guys really have to get on par and get to the mindset that they're not going to allow that. So it is quite it's just not a thing that it's not an easy fix, and it's not I think if whoever they bring, whatever happens at the head man job, this has always been consistent across the board. There is some internal things that they have got to fix and have some systems in place to where it could be streamlined. But I don't think the talent overhaul is as bad as it is, but I do think the level of play in the quarterback, and I saw somebody in the comments mention guys that they might need to go replace or go figure out. And maybe there's not the congruency in the voice and what you need to hear at quarterback. Maybe there are like even one of the things of the fan base. Everybody's upset about how many times we switched the quarterback. I mean, the running backs in the rotation. They're like, we played too many running backs. We played too many running backs. And I asked them, did you see the box score? Did you go look at the box? And when you go look at it, it's no different than any other most teams. The main three, the top two guys got the most carries, and some other guys, as the game was going on and they were winning, got a few carries. But the double-digit carries came from Singleton and Uzma, and then I believe that the other carries were 2, 1, 3, and then 2 of them were to Mekhi Danzy, and then the other ones that were big runs were from Thomas Castellanos, who maybe runs a little bit too much, in my opinion. But I think we just want to we want to be heard, and we're in pain because we're losing and we're facing some adversity, and I don't know if we know what we're saying quite yet. And I'm not, again, I get where everybody's at, but I just want to make sure when we make this change, or when they make that change, we get a guy who's solid.
Yeah. And hey, I'm with you on a plan too. I'm almost like, look, if y'all are set on keeping Mike, then back his ass. Let's
yeah, whatever we do, whatever it is, make sure we go 110% behind him. I would love. That's what I really want. Is we didn't do it. That's consistent. We didn't do it for Jimbo. We didn't go 110% behind Jimbo. Jimbo heard a lot of Bobby didn't need that. Why do you? We damn sure can't say we did it with Tag, because Tag was it a 5 or 10%? They attacked the recruiting budget when Tag came in, so they slashed that. Whoever put 100%, 110% behind it, and let's go try to make sure we get whatever and see what happens.
Agreed.
Another unfortunate part of not just what's going on with Florida State, but with anybody is, I don't know, I'm guessing you guys would watch your favorite team, would watch Florida State in a down year, the last couple games of the year, with a look toward the next season, obviously. Let's see the young players, love watching the young players. Let's see if anybody pops that's getting more playing time. So-and-so got to start this week. And, you start to scout the young guys and hope for next year, and feel really good when a freshman or sophomore has a big game. You can still do that, but obviously there's less likelihood, where before there was about 100% likelihood that they were going to still be on the roster the next year. Now there's nobody's done the math yet, whatever the percentage chance, probably more like 60 or 70% chance that whoever you're scouting from the underclass ranks, the lower class ranks, is going to be on the roster the next year. So you don't even necessarily have the fun in saying, hey, can't wait to see him next year. You got to kind of cross your fingers.
Yeah.
Where we are, baby. College football.
Yeah. Yeah. So
thanks, Edo Bailey and all that good stuff. Here we are. Yep. We all, we wanted the things for the athletes, and we wanted this and that. Yeah, I always go back to the one-time transfer rule, when the NCAA was just completely abhorrent and terrible and handling those waivers, and it made no sense. Somebody's getting paid off. That's how you got your waiver or some crap. And they just threw their hands up in there and they said unlimited transfers. That's what messed everything up. There was nothing wrong with, you can transfer once, coach leaves, whatever the case may be, but it's not even, people want to say it's ultimate, it's free agency like the NFL. Like, no, those guys have restrictions and can only be a free agent every 4 or 5 years. Like, unless you're signing 1-year contracts, it's crazy. Florida State didn't maneuver it well, but to James and, point earlier, who has really? It's been up and down and rough for a lot of people out there. So don't make any rash decisions. Circle back to just, let's get behind whatever we're going to do 100%, and let's push towards that, and with a mind of building a roster with the best players you can, finding that right mix.
Well, it started to come unraveled on a Friday night, and Florida State's got another Friday night, 4.5-point favorite on the road, 61.5 is the point total. So they're expecting some points on the board. Vegas is between NC State and Florida State. Again, the Seminoles 4.5-point favorite on the road against NC State. Both teams are 5-5, need that magical 6th win. And do you guys care about a Friday night game one way or the other?
I don't like them. High school football is meant to be played on Friday nights, not college. I think we have too many. Yeah, I didn't like it. Just doesn't. It throws off your whole mojo. So, I hope they, I hope they get their mind right. I hope they just come out fire. Just put it on the line, man. Just play all in for once.
Absolutely.
Go get a victory. I'll be watching it like I've watched all the rest of them, Hopefully not in pain. Hopefully it's one of these ones where we can sit back and relax. We will see. But I cast no dispersions on NC State or Florida State. Let's just watch it and enjoy it. Hopefully it's that first half of the Wake Forest game was rough, but we can have a little bit more of that second half action. Tommy connecting on some plays. Kruma and Singleton running the ball. I'll be happy. But it's just Jekyll and Hyde with this team. You don't know what you're going to get. I definitely feel like Florida State's the better team. Vegas has it right. They should win. But, are you going to miss wide open guys? Is the defense going to give up a, personal foul, penalty on 4th and 18 when you sack the quarterback? Stuff like that. Hopefully that stuff stays in the bag. Here's my prediction. If Florida State has less than 6 penalties for less than 50 yards, they win the ball game. Any more than that, they lose.
Two of your favorite brands, everyone. You got VOCFB.com. Go to VOCFB.com. Pick out your favorite team. We, of course, have Florida State displayed right there. Pick out some gear. I have taken great care into trying to combine price point and quality merch, tees and polos, koozies and tumblers and mugs. It's all right there. VOCFB.com. Pick out the Florida State merch. James, what's going on with you this week?
College football. I'm not college football. A lot of college football players will be in play, but high school football playoffs, Mandarin High School versus Pace High School will be on DIN Media Group. You'll be able to check that out. You can check out some of our other stuff. At Big Game James _36 is my Twitter. You'll get all of that information. Big Games BS Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We do a live show. Once we get to 7,000 subs, we will be giving away $500 to a live listener, $200 to a den mate. That's those people who pay for the subscription or to become a member. Just basically we'll be testing high school basketball. I'm getting into the live streaming game. So the goal is to shift everything to Big Games Gridiron, which we do have up and running on YouTube right now. We'll have the channel, and we are getting back into Discord. And so we'll have all of our stuff in there. I owe George a call because I want to talk about some things so we could all continue to give quality FSU content and do some things that we talked about doing another way, but actually together and implementing it. So, but one of my fun things is getting into streaming games. So, Mark, if you ever want to do some color commentary from the home, let me know. I can get you some high school games, and it'll be some good stuff, man. But for those who just check it out, it's free right now. Costs you absolutely nothing. But to go to the Sports Den Media Group YouTube, you click that like button and everything else.
Are y'all at home or on the road for that?
We're at home. Mark.
We're at home. They have to come all the way to us like they did. That's right up the road for me. Makes sense. Y'all are ranked higher, obviously. Well, good luck, man. Hey, they're a big rival of Milton, so take care of business, man. Probably won't be a problem.
All right. Takes me back to my first few years in the business. WNCO, beautiful Ashland, Ohio. My first job calling high school football and basketball games on the radio. Some Ashland University football, Division III. There we go. All right, George. We'll line it up with the Renegade Report here coming up in just a few minutes.
Yeah, give us about 10 minutes to get everything going. Maybe 9:15 Eastern. We'll kick her off. But yeah, the Renegade Roast got postponed. Our girl Jen, oh man, she can't catch a break. She hurt her legs, so she's resting up. We're hoping maybe she can get back and do another Roast Monday. So they're going to be stuck with me and Tiny Hat. We'll see if we can get any other special guests. But yeah, we're going to talk about Florida State football. I'm sure Tiny Hat's ready to go off on that. So join us over there if you're still up for some more Florida State football content. Come check us out at the Renegade Report.
15, 20 minutes from right now, folks. The Renegade Report with George and Tiny Hat. And then here at the Voice of College Football next week, whether it's Tuesday, whether it's Wednesday, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel, make sure the bell's on for the notifications to know when we go live with Big Game and with George talking Florida State football heading into Hate Week with Florida. So we will see you then. James, appreciate you being here. I think George has run off to get his show cranked up. So we'll catch George here in about 15 minutes. Thanks for everything, James. Always appreciated.
All right. You as well.